Okay, so the term LLM is literally everywhere right now. But what does it actually mean? That's what we're going to do. We're going to spend the next few minutes really breaking it down from the absolute basics all the way to the secret sauce that, well, pretty much changed everything. You've probably done this, right? You've gone to ChatGPT and asked it to, I don't know, write a poem or plan a trip for you. We've all played around with it, but that's just that's just what you see on the surface. The real question is, what's the engine actually running underneath all of that?
All right, so to get a handle on that engine, we have to start right at the beginning with the name itself. Large, language, model. What are we actually talking about here?
Okay, so at its absolute core, an LLM is basically a super sophisticated prediction machine. It's a deep neural network, which is a fancy way of saying it's a complex system, kind of inspired by how our own brains are wired. It's been fed this gigantic, unbelievable library of text. And from that, it's learned all the patterns, all the rules, even the weird little quirks of how we humans talk and write. And here's why that matters. Let's say you ask it to plan a relaxing day. The AI isn't just doing a Google search for a pre-made answer. No way. It's tapping into all that training to actually understand the whole concept of relaxing. And then it generates a brand new response from scratch, something personalized in a way that feels surprisingly human. All right, so we've got language model down, but what about the large part? This is where things get absolutely wild. The scale we're talking about here is honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around. Just look at that number, $175 billion. That's how many parameters are in the GPT-3 model. So what's a parameter? The best way to think of them is like little tiny knobs and dials inside the model's brain. As it learns, it's constantly adjusting all 175 billion of those knobs, fine-tuning itself to get better and better at understanding and generating language. But you know that 175 billion number? That's just one point in time. The real story is the jump to get there. It wasn't a slow and steady climb. It was a straight-up explosion. I mean, look at this. GPT-1, 117 million parameters. Sounds like a lot, right? Then GPT-2 jumped to 1.5 billion. And then, boom, GPT-3 hits 175 billion. That crazy exponential leap, that's the key to everything. And going that big, that fast, it completely changed the game. Think about it like this. The older models were specialists. You'd have one model that was just for translation, and another one that was just for figuring out if a movie review was positive or negative. They could only do one thing. But today's LLMs, they're total generalists. The exact same model that can translate French for you can, in the next second, write a poem, draft a professional email, or even spit out a chunk of computer code. So you gotta ask, right? What made this huge leap possible? How do we get from specialists to these superpowered generalists? It wasn't just a slow, steady improvement. It was one specific, game-changing breakthrough that really unlocked everything. And believe it or not, it all comes back to this one research paper from Google in 2017. And to give you a sense of just how important this paper was, it's been cited by other researchers over 100,000 times. That's insane. This is the paper that introduced the secret ingredient that we're still using today. And that secret sauce has a name, the transformer architecture. This is the blueprint, the fundamental design that's underneath pretty much every modern LLM. So what did it do that was so special? Well, before the transformer, models really struggled to keep track of the context in long sentences. They'd kind of forget the beginning by the time they got to the end. But this new design gave them a way to pay attention to all the words in a sentence at the same time, weighing which ones were most important. And that made them so much better at understanding the actual meaning and nuance of what was being said.
Okay, so we've got LLMs, and we know they're built using this transformer thing. But then you hear all these other buzzwords flying around, right? AI, machine learning, deep learning. It can get pretty confusing. So let's quickly untangle all of that and create a clear mental map of how it all fits together.
Honestly, the absolute easiest way to picture this is with a set of those Russian nesting dolls. You know the ones. So the biggest, outermost doll, that's artificial intelligence. It's the whole broad idea of any machine that mimics human intelligence. You open that up, and inside you find the next doll, machine learning. This is where machines learn from data, instead of just being programmed with rules. Okay, open that one up, and you get to deep learning, which uses those really complex, multi-layered neural networks we talked about. And then finally, inside that last stall, you find large language models, a very specific, specialized application of deep learning that's laser-focused on text.
Okay, so that's the tech. That's what's going on under the hood. But who cares, right? What does it all actually mean for us in the real world? What can these incredibly powerful models really do?
Well, the list is already gigantic, and it's literally growing by the day. We're talking about everything from creating brand new content. I mean, you could ask it for a detective story where all the planets are suspects, to powering the smart chatbots that help you with customer service. They can translate languages on the fly. They can take a 50-page report and summarize it for you in seconds. They're even being used to help teachers create lesson plans for their classrooms. And this is really the thing to get your head around. We're at the very, very beginning. We're only scratching the surface of what's possible here. These aren't just little tools for one specific job. This is a foundational technology, kind of like the internet or electricity, that can be applied in an almost infinite number of ways. So this technology is here to stay, and it's getting more powerful every single day. Just understanding the basics of what it is and how it works, that's the crucial first step. Because at the end of the day, the most important question isn't really what can LLMs do? The real question is, what are we going to do with them? And that's a question that all of us are going to have to answer starting right now.